My name is Ken Stammen, and I'm Communications and Community Relations Manager for Columbia Gas of Ohio. And Athens is one of the communities that I cover. I'd like to sincerely thank all of you for coming out this evening for our public open house on the East State Street pipeline replacement project. Hopefully, and I see several of you holding the letters and fact sheets that went out in the mail a few weeks ago. It's a beautiful summer night, and I realize there's other things you'd probably rather be doing than sitting inside listening to that gas pipeline. So we'll try to keep this going crisply. I'd like to make some other introductions of other members of the Columbia Gas of Ohio team. Pam Lehrman, External Affairs Specialist. She's the point person on communications for these infrastructure replacement projects, and we'll talk about the infrastructure replacement program in a moment. Mike Schwederman is a leader in our construction services business unit. He's an expert on these programs that we're doing all over the state. Tiffany Woodyard, one of our field engineers. She designed the pipeline replacement project that we're here to talk about tonight. Joey Andy, also in our construction services division. He is the construction inspector who will be overseeing this project here locally when it's underway. And in the back row, he's trying to hide, but Bill Allen, who's one of our field operations leaders, does a great job for us down here, helping supervise our field service personnel who respond to emergencies and things like that. Real quick, several years ago, along about the 2007 timeframe, Columbia Gas of Ohio did a comprehensive review of its natural gas distribution system in Ohio, and discovered that, at that point that roughly a fourth or 1/5 of our system was a bare steel pipe. What's that mean? That means pipe that at the time it was put in the ground, it was not coated, it was not treated. That was the technology of the day, and that these systems had served us very well for decades, but were nearing the end of their useful life, and the pace at which we were replacing those systems really needed to be increased if we were going to achieve our goal of getting all that pipe eventually out of service. So in 2008, we launched what we refer to as our infrastructure replacement program. And basically, the plan was all 4,000 miles of that pipe and the associated bare steel service lines all throughout our service territory would be taken out of service and replaced with high-strength, high-grade plastic pipe on an accelerated basis, and that we would have that all done within 25 years. As a result, we have a system that didn't leak unless it was damaged. More reliable system, a system that water would not penetrate lines and interfere with the flow of natural gas. System that would allow us to move indoor meters outside, creating a lot of convenience for our customers, not having to allow meters in their house every other month. And just a lot of associated benefits, economic development benefits. We can operate these new systems at a little bit higher pressures that can support light industry and other things that maybe could not be supported by the existing system. And so 2008, we did a couple of demonstration projects, and 2009 and beyond, we really ramped up that program. We're doing this all throughout Ohio, and the good news for all of you is that at the end of the project, we will have the newest, most modern natural gas distribution system anywhere on our system. So, nobody living up in a nice suburb of Columbus will have a more modern, newer, better gas distribution system that you'll have right here in your neighborhood. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Pam, who's going to talk a little bit more about this project. Mike's the real star of the show. He can really discuss the construction process. And the most important part of the evening, of course, is answering your questions. And we'll all be available throughout the hour and a little bit after if we have to answer questions. So, Pam?
Thank you, Ken. I saw a lot of people walking in with our letter and fact sheet. I just want to check, did anybody not receive the letter and fact sheets here tonight? Anybody else? Oh, okay, that's fine. We've got plenty of them. Okay. Anybody else? anybody notice that there was an article about our project in the Athens Messenger on June 8th? If you read that article, oh, wonderful. Very nice. A lot of people, about 8 people read the article. That's great. As Ken was saying, we're going to be doing some extensive work. We're actually going to be working on 20 of your streets. And we're going to be investing $1.2 million in this project. So it's going to be a good economic development, and as far as having state-of-the-art, you will have state-of-the-art pipes. We're replacing 17,000 feet of pipe. 351 of our customers are affected by our work. And we will be moving meters out. So if somebody has an inside meter, we will be moving 159 meters outside. And we're replacing the service line, the line from your meter to the street, replacing 308 of those. And you will be able to answer your questions that are related to your property tonight. We have 3 people here who are very good at doing that. If you have questions about where's my meter going to move outside, that kind of thing, what's going to happen to my driveway. Without further ado, Mike Schwederman, the leader of construction, is here tonight in the house. Thanks, Mike.
Hello. I'd like to start off by telling you where I'm from, where I live. And I live in Norwalk, Ohio. Who knows where Norwalk is? Who's been to Cedar Point? Oh, you probably go to Point. That's where I'm from. So I live up near the lake. And part of my job is to go out and talk to community groups about these projects. And we do about 50 a year or so. And it's from Portsmouth, Fremont, Sandusky, Toledo, Steubenville, all over the states. It's really nice to get out and see various groups of people. We tend to have the biggest turnouts in communities and neighborhoods in which people care about their property, and this is a nice turnout. So this is a good indication that you guys really care about your property. I'm going to talk a little bit about why we're here, and this is the culprit. This is an example of the bare steel cast iron pipe that was installed in the 1940s and 50s. There wasn't plastic back then, and there was various qualities of steel available, because as some of you remember, there was a wartime, and there was rationing of materials, and there was various times in which we even had trouble getting the steel. So this was installed 40, 50, 60 years ago, and I would imagine at that time its useful life, engineers were probably saying 30 years, 40 years. But technology improved. We were able to take care of this with anodes. We did a really nice job making a repair, but we've gotten to the point where we think it's in everybody's best interest to replace this around the state. One of the ways in which we first addressed how we were going to go about replacing, who was first, who was second. Well, one of the first places we worked with was in Steubenville, and I'm going to talk about Steubenville because we did it for mostly worker safety. Picture of a road. There's 2 lanes here, and there's a turn lane here. In Steubenville, if you've ever been there, it's like a roller coaster community. There's lots of hills. And that main line was right in the middle of that turn lane. So whenever we worked on that, we had to close this lane, we had to close that lane, we had to close this lane, and it was just not good. It was 55 miles an hour area. So we replaced that system, moved it off the road, and took care of that. The next group of projects we did were somewhat water related. When you have low pressure systems in areas which are prone to flooding, and if there's any holes in the gas system and there's water that sits very high, the water seeps into the main lines. And so we addressed a number of those systems that had water. This one here is just basic. The system's old, there's active corrosion on the system, and we feel that we need to address it. So we're going to do that this summer. I want to talk about how this all works and what we're going to be doing. And there's 4 things we do before we even dig our first shovel full of dirt. And these are important, and I'll explain why. One of the first things we do is we will videotape all the sidewalks and all the driveways in the neighborhood. So you might see a person go along, and they'll show the address, and they'll keep walking, and they'll show the sidewalk in your driveway apron or any of your property. And we do that before the project begins, and we do that after the project's over. So if you say to me, hey Mike, you guys tore up my sidewalk, I'm going to have proof that we did it or we didn't. It's protection for the contractor, it's protection for you. If we do any damage whatsoever, we have it a before and after, and it's really good. It settles any disputes we might have with regards to driveway aprons, sidewalks, or anything on your property. So that's one thing we do. The second thing is we send cameras through your sewers. Seems like an odd thing to do, but we do. We go along, and one of the goals we have is to not disrupt the grass and the driveways and have to cut up lots of holes everywhere. So we have a method, a technology in which we can directional bore pipe. So we can take long sections of pipe, like this piece of main, and start digging and then just kind of do the ground, and it can come up 300 feet down the road. So we really minimize the number of holes that can be on a project. But for us to be able to do that, we have to know exactly where your sewers are, the sanitary, the storm, and so we will send a camera through there before and after to make sure we haven't done any damage to your sanitary sewers when we're done. It's also a valuable tool for the city. I can't speak for Athens, but most communities, a lot of their sewers are old too. And their depth and their location is somewhat a mystery at times. And so we're able to give them that video that has depths and distances with regard to where all the sewer laterals are done. So we do the videotaping, we do the sewer. One of the things you might see is there's occasions where we have to do some survey work. We do not want to lay anything on your private property. The goal is to lay it on the road right away in the tree lawn area. But if there's ever any dispute where we feel that we're not sure where your property line is, you could see some survey stakes. That doesn't mean the line is going on right where that stake is. That just tells us that's your property, don't cross it. So you can see that. And then the fourth thing we do is we'll be calling Ohio Utility Protection Services. And that's OOPS. You might see commercials on that. And what we do is we tell them where we're going to be laying the main line on these two streets or this street. And then the water and electric and cable might come out and they'll put stakes or paint marks where their utilities are so we don't hit them. Now, having said that, there might be some other things on your property that OOPS does not locate. And that would be if you've had any invisible fences for a pet, or if you happen to have a sprinkler system. So if you have a sprinkler system or the pet safety fence, you have to tell us when we come to talk to you about the project. So that's, let's say we've done all four of those things, and we're getting ready to start with the digging and laying main. And let's say we're starting on these two streets. So what's going to happen is we are going to come out and we're going to be laying, what size pipe are we laying? I didn't look.
4 inches.
4 inch and 2 inch. So it's not a real big diameter, but it's, so we're going to go out and we're going to lay a line on these two streets. And what will happen is we will lay the main line, we will test this, pressure test this, and after it tests okay, we'll put gas into it. And at that time, there will be an old bare steel main line in front of these addresses and the new plastic gas system out in front. This will have less than 60 pounds. What are we going to operate at?
It's a 50-pound system.
So we'll get 50-pound system, which is significantly greater than what is in the existing system. So we lay the main, we have 2 pipelines running in front of both places. And then what will happen is we'll have someone come, they'll be knocking on your door and talking to you. They'll say, they'll knock on your door, sorry, this is an ugly looking tag, but we'll knock on your door and we'll say, we're ready to convert you over to the new system. So let's say First 3 customers are home, great. Next Tuesday's fine. This house is vacant. We're not sure where the property owner is anymore. We don't know who owns it, but there might be a vacant house. We have a couple people on vacation. They're in Florida, and the rest of the people are home. One of the nice things is there's going to be gas in this system all through the project. So if you're not home, you're on vacation, you're away for 2 or 3 weeks, when you come back, whether your neighbor talks to you or you find this tag, you're going to call a number on the back of this of somebody who's working the project right there. You're not calling an 800 number to Columbus or some other state. It'll be of someone who's working right there on the project. So they might say, all right, we'll be over in 10 minutes and talk to you about your conversion. So let's worry about the people who are there. When we tell the first customer, next Tuesday we'll be there to be converted, what happens? Well, let's say this first customer already has their meter setting outside. Maybe all they need is a new service line or possibly a regulator on here. That's the easy conversion. So all we're going to do is install a new service line for them and connect to possibly the same setting. We'll probably replace it and put on a new regulator. And that conversion might only be an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's going to be really quick. We don't have to do any work inside the house because the meter setting is already outside, and we're going to place the new meter setting either right there or very close to where the old setting is. So yours was easy. The next customer, let's say the meter's inside, and we have a meter in the basement, and it might be on the left-hand side of the house. And so we'll talk to the customer and we'll say, all right, when we go down and look in the basement, we want to see where your house line pipe's going, where the trunk line is, whether or not you have drywall down there, is it a finished basement. We just want to kind of look to see what we're going to do when we do the conversion. So we have this meter in the basement and we want to move it to the outside. And there will be some places near the house that will make sense. If the meter's on the left-hand side of the house, it's probably going to end up staying somewhere near the left side of the house. If it's on the front of the house, it might be best just to put it right out there, just to the side. But we'll talk to you about where we're going to place it. And I word this carefully. It's not up to the customer where we're going to put it. But if there's a good reason why you're saying, I really don't want it here, how about a few feet over here, or how about there, we'll take your input into consideration because when we're done, we want you to be happy with where it's at. There's a few places that we cannot put the meter setting, and mostly because of this regulator here. If there's ever any overpressurization, the gas flows out of that vent. So we will not put the meter setting next to your electric meter box. It cannot be close to an air conditioning unit or a window that's open for airflow, that type of stuff. So we will talk to you about the best place to put it, where it's reasonable, and we'll give you some input if you think, I really don't want it right here. So we get you converted. We will do some inside house line piping. This pipe goes through the back of the meter setting, and we want to attach to your existing trunk line. So if your meter is currently right here, and your new settings go in here, we only have to install 3 or 4 feet trunk line. We will test your house line piping, relight all your appliances, and get you turned over to the new system, and that will take usually less than 2 hours. The customer that was in Florida will stay on the old system for a couple of weeks. When she comes back, we'll get it converted to the new. The house is empty. And most communities have a few houses here and there that are empty. In most cases, when a house is empty, they do not have natural gas service. It's been turned off by themselves, or it's off for non-pay, but it's on. So what happens with that, let's say, we will make some attempts to find out where the property owner is, because we would like to get all that conversion done while they're working. Let's say we don't find them, and someone buys that house and they want to fix it up and make it really nice next year. That's fine. We have a main line right outside their house, we can easily come in and install a service line. The only thing we're not going to do for them is the inside house line piping that's going to connect to their existing trunk line. That work's going to have to be, the cost of that will be borne by the new owner. Since we're prompting all this here, we are doing all the internal piping as part of the project. Just so you know also, the service line that we install in other areas of Athens, let's say you have a brother or sister or parent or a child and they have a house and this line leaks in the next few weeks or month. Service lines are owned by the customer, but we are responsible for the maintenance and repair. So if anything happens to anyone's service line outside this project area, we will still be responsible for any maintenance and repair of that system. So although you're getting a brand new system, others in the community are protected because we will come out and make repairs on that too. I want to talk a little bit about some of the safety things I want to talk about. One is the IDs. All Columbia Gas people will have IDs like this. There'll be a picture and a name, and they'll have a blue. Any contractor that's working for us that does any work will have a picture ID. They'll have a red background on there, so you're going to see IDs, and you're supposed to be wearing those. Also, this is called an excess flow valve. And this is a device that's going to be installed on all the service lines that we put in this area. And it goes on really close to the main line. And what this does, this is calibrated to recognize what a normal flow of gas would be for a residential customer. So all your appliances are on. It's Thanksgiving Day. You have the turkey in the oven. The furnace is on. Hot water's running. This is going to flow great. No problem. But for some reason, the range connector gets snapped in your house, or the service line gets dug into by someone planting a tree, this will recognize that and shut off the flow of gas. So this will be on all the accounts in this project. We also, one of the nice things that I consider really good, the industry standard for fire and police and that type of thing is to look for outside meters whenever there's a fire. So if you're out of town and your meter's in the basement, it's really hard for fire and police to do their job if there's a fire. So there'll be a shut-off valve on every single account in this operating area when we do this project. And if there's ever any problem, the fire and police know to turn this valve, and that'll shut off the flow of gas to the house. We also will have tracer wires, and since the old pipe was metallic, it was easy to find if we needed to do a locate. The new pipe will have a tracer wire with it, and it'll also run the length of the service line, and it runs up to the meter setting, and we can put a small electrical current in this tracer wire, and we can locate your service line if need be, whenever you need that located, or the main line. We need to locate that. Just for your information, the taps, how we tap the main, is we have fittings. This is called a T, and it has some copper wires in here, and we place this on top of the main, and we will kind of like melts the plastic, and so it melts onto the main line, and there's a sharp little cutter in here, and we can screw that down into the plastic, bring it back up, and that allows the flow of gas to flow through to the service line up to your house. So that's how that works. So let's say we've got our first two streets, and we're moving on. So as we're doing the conversions for these two streets, we've probably already started the main line installation for these streets. So you're going to see us coming. It's not like we're going to sneak up on you and say we want to convert you over to the new system tomorrow, because we're already going to been there. We will have been there for 2 weeks putting in the main line. So the first 2 blocks, we'll probably do the cleanup. Cleaning up the area, putting grass seed in. We're putting main line in here, converting these customers, and we systematically go through the neighborhood addressing each house. Main line first, service conversion second, and then cleanup third. We plan on starting in the next 2 to 4 weeks. So if my math is right, that'll be sometime in July. And this isn't a huge project. It's not small, but it's not huge. We should be done before it starts getting cold. So you shouldn't have any concerns about having the gas turned off when it's really cold. Our goal is to be done before that happens. So for a 2-hour period, being out of gas service shouldn't be a problem. But if it is, and there's a specific time you really don't want it off, you can say to the person that knocks on your door, I really don't want it done next Thursday. And actually, I had a lady in Apartment Heights. She was all worried. She said to me, will you be here on Easter? I was cooking my ham at 10 a.m. And I felt so bad. She came all the way to the meeting because she's worried about making her ham. But we're not going to be there on a Sunday. We'll let you know when we're coming. And if you don't like the time we're going to be there, we can set it off a day or two. There's some businesses in some communities that there's a Dunkin' Donut shop, and they were really fretting about when we were going to be there. There was a nursing home in Portsmouth. So there's places along the way that we work with people to get the conversions done and that best meets their needs. So if you have a problem, just let us know. The last thing I want to talk about is when I talk about the directional bore, is we do have to open cut, and there's times that we can't locate all the utilities. So we might have some trenching machines or backhoe digging. If we have to do that, you'll also see some tape over the main line. The main line is going to be at least 30 inches deep. We don't want to go real deep, but it's going to be at least 30 inches deep. And if we have to open cut, you'll see this. The service line will be approximately 18 inches. And our goal there is to directional bore as much as this is possible. So if you're in an area in which we can locate the utilities, we can get to your house, there'll be a small hole in the street and a small hole in the foundation. And we'll send the service line, directional bore, up to there and get it converted, and you won't see a whole lot of damage to your property. But if we do anything, if we tear up a bush, if we damage a tree, if we break your concrete apron of your driveway, or break any of your sidewalks, we will replace them. We don't want to do that because it's expensive, but if we do, we will replace them. Okay, question. You're first.
You got about half of the houses in the near east side. What about all these other houses? What are you doing with them?
Okay, that's a good question. Do you want to answer that, or you want me to answer it?
Either way.
Go ahead.
Okay. The way that the existing infrastructure of this east side area is that we have different operating pressure systems. And so the pipe that you see that's unaffected is existing plastic or existing treated steel. And so it was not part of our targeted pipe that we wanted to replace. So that's why you kind of see bits and pieces here is that pipe is, it's good for our current standards.
It's good to get. It's unique. There's not a lot of areas. Usually it's either all bare steel or all plastic or a little bit of plastic here or there. This just happens to be one in which there's a blend of old pipe and new pipe in the same neighborhood.
I have a leak that's down close to the road, so I have a very short service line, and we will be testing the integrity of the pipe that comes onto my house.
So your meter is not attached to your house? Joe, how do you?
It all depends. Is it convenient where it is for you right now?
No bother to me whatsoever. It's very convenient for a meter.
Yeah, we could test the house on this to make sure.
We can do that, or we can set the meter closer to the house.
We
That's
can.
our, yeah, we can take care of it. Do you want our address?
No, we'll meet.
All right, we're good. Yes, ma'am.
But it sounds like you're on top of replacing landscaping and any problems with that, but it's mature landscaping. What do you do with the mature tree?
Okay, that's a good question. And then I'll tell you the funny story when I'm done.
Good.
All right. The directional bore method of installing the pipe is really good with the existing trees. We're not disrupting any of the roots. It'll go through and down and under, and it does good. If for some reason we do damage a tree, we will work with the city and replace. But we know it's very expensive to take down trees. It's a value to the homeowner to have a tree on their property. So our goal is to not damage any trees, and we do our best to either trench around them or go under them with directional board. And now I got to tell you my funny story. I was in Toledo, big project, 2,000 customers, a lot of people, and a lady asked a very similar question. But she said, "Do you kill trees?" And I'm going, "Oh man, I'm in trouble." And I said, "No, I gave the same answer." And she said, "Young man, you don't understand. My neighbor has a silver maple. I want you to kill it." So whenever I get that question, I think back to that lady in Toledo.
I was going to say, did she really want to say it was silver maple?
Right, she wanted it to go. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, a couple things I'll vouch for, the fact that they do replace things. You know, when they came around, I don't know what they did, the gas meters last year, and they killed one of my bushes, and it didn't die for about a month, but by golly, they let me choose the bush of my choice, and they came and put it in, so appreciated that.
Yeah, it was probably the riser. We had some
Yeah,
risers
that's
we
what it
wanted to
was.
replace.
Now, the other thing I'm going to say, and this is not a question, but I was going to say, when I read that article in the paper, I thought, it's about time, and I'm sure there are other people in this room that have had that, because we've had, you probably know, we've had many gas leaks that have been reported, which, when every time I took my trash out, for months and months and months and months, I smelled gas. You know, they couldn't find any leaks. Well, the first leak they found, after Charlie Hassel went up, was right down the hill from me, and all the gas was coming up. And I just want to also express a note of appreciation to Mr. Rose, the mailman, because he has used his nose and I'm sure been on city council and also to the people on city council that have, so we do appreciate it very much.
Okay, well, good.
Thank you, Sean.
And some of us who lived here a long time remember when there was an explosion of the gas line that totally wrecked a house not too far from some of this neighborhood, so we do appreciate it.
Okay, well, that's good. In low pressure systems, in clay or when there's frozen soil, it is sometimes really hard to find the source of that. And we're going to low or a medium pressure system. We shouldn't have that problem. New plastic system. So we're very confident this is something that's going to last a really long time, which is good. I want to talk a little bit about economic development. As before, I was saying there's times in which when you have low pressure, it's difficult. Well, I was talking to a different group today about that. But when you have low pressure, it's difficult for any commercial establishments that might be in the area to expand, whether equipment or add to their business. And even though this is a residential area, when we do more projects in Athens in which we expand this, because we're going to be back in the following years, it has a good economic development aspect to it, because whether it is a pizza parlor or a body shop that wants to add an oven to cure the painting of vehicles, now the systems will allow for expansion for the small commercials and that type of thing. So although it doesn't really affect a residential neighborhood, as we expand, it'll be better for economic development.
Let me understand, you actually do not remove the old pipe, you go under it, or?
The old pipe outside,
Yeah, go to our, from the main line to our house.
right, this, let's pretend this is the main line, and there might be an old steel line going to your house. Both of those would be abandoned in place. Now, but what we do, this will be purged. And where that old service line is coming close to your house, we are cutting those off and plugging those.
I mean, they very well is.
And it's possible, true, that in some cases, this is your existing service line. Sometimes it's easy just to go like this with the new
Well, that's what
one.
we have.
Oh, so you have it, so you probably won't get a new, you might not get a new service
Yeah,
line.
well, this happened approximately 10 years ago, we had a leak.
And you had to pay for it, didn't you?
We had to pay for it, we dig up our
digging up cement is not in, because it's really expensive. But if we do damage anything, we will repair it. The existing main line, that steel will be abandoned in place. We will purge it, we'll run air through it, and we'll monitor the sides of it to make sure there's no gas in it. That's the last thing we do.
If this is a higher pressure line, does that mean the gas pressure in our houses will be higher?
Good question. Everybody hear that? Will the gas pressure in my house be the same? No. Once it passes this regulator and it goes through the meter, the pressure in your house will be exactly the same. The pressure going through the meter and the pressure in your house will be the same as it is now. It's just the pressure up to here is greater, but everything through here and into the house is the same.
Okay, I have two meters.
Okay?
When I live in the house, I don't think they have to go down, but wherever we put the meter on the sidewalk of my house. The other meter goes from my house to my garage apartment. So there's a lot of money there, so I want to put that in the basement and the sidewalk.
Joe
So
loves
I'm very
those.
upset about having 2 meters in an area where I don't have any meters. So I think we also have a regulator sitting out in that street, and then the 2 meters. And nobody's ever come to my door to ask me to leave it along on the basement. I've never seen it. So
Do they
it's
go
not,
through the window?
it's inconvenience for me.
They have it outside. So you're probably one of the systems that IP as the regulator.
No, I don't know.
What, there's existing IP.
Okay, then we'll say it's ID right at the bottom of the table.
Yes, cable
Okay.
car.
Sure. I think that we can work with you. I'm sure that we can, we want to definitely move the meters out. I don't know what, your front door is on the front left-hand side of the house too, right?
Yeah, everything's up front, so, and we just had, like, within 3 years, a huge amount of landscaping done in that area.
So now, without being right there and telling you, I'd be
Okay,
walking
and I
these
just wanted to
lines.
tell them we'll be coming around.
Sure.
You said we don't have any option, but I.
No, we've got options. We're gonna make it work so that you're happy and that we serve your house and the department and make everybody, I mean, it's not gonna be like it was, but hopefully we can make it even better.
I was worried that I was trying to big figure sitting right outside the side.
Well, we can actually use smaller meters than you have.
Yeah, there are some, and to give you an idea, we've done about 30,000 conversions, and there's been some really complicated ones. In the house in back of the current house, there's a few of those out there, so there'll be some options, but we'll work with you. And when we're done, we want you to have had some input as to the options that are available to you. We're not just going to go in and say it's going to be here or there. We'll work with you and try to get at it. How do you say?
My meter is almost certainly going to have to be moved because it's right in the middle of the house in the basement. Will the service line coming from the feeder go perpendicular? Or, I mean, if you have to move the meter to the side of the house, will it go at an angle?
The piping inside the house?
No, from the feeder
Okay.
to the service line. Does it always go perpendicular to the feeder? Or
From the main line to the house, we want it to be a right angle. So that part, your options will either be the left-hand side of the house, the right-hand side of the house, or anywhere along the front. But the service line is going to be at a right angle, whichever way we do that. And that is another one of the standards in which if we see the meter is here, we know the service line is running straight. We're not going to have crooked service line. So the part outside, but once it's in your house, depending on the layout, drywall, finished basement, there's options of what we can do with the various lengths of black pipe that we run to your trunk line.
I see that behind my house, that you have a building,
Regulator station.
regulator. it's either going to or you have red line going to it. I mean, that regular station needs anything.
For right now, that existing station is going to stay. What happens at that station is that we have medium pressure gas that goes into it, and then out comes intermediate pressure and also low pressure. So we have three different systems in this east side area. The IP section that goes back out to, I think, May, that is some bare steel that we want to replace. So because we're not eliminating the low in the IP and making everything medium this time, we just have targeted streets. That's the only portion right there that will replace for right now.
Yes, I'd like to make a statement and a question. First of all, I'd like to thank Rosemary Hayes for kind remarks she made about me on the letter carrier that was caught with my very sensitive nose. A number of leaks. We had an inordinate amount of leaks in this town during the past 3 years. It all started in March 2008, and I had a nice conversation with Mr. Stammen before the meeting to kind of clear the air a little bit. He was quoted as saying in one of the newspapers, local newspapers here, that the leaks in Athens weren't serious. Well, they are serious. And the Jane and Michael Lyons home at 306 East State Street. Thank you, Jane, for coming. I saved this family's life according to what Mrs. Lyons told me. And it's a very humbling experience to save a person's life. I get emotional right now thinking about it. It's happened to me 3 times as a letter carrier, 3 different instances over the past 23 years. I realize that I think Mr. Stammen was quoted this way because he didn't want to make a panic situation in Athens, like, oh, well, we got to do something about this, or our houses are going to go up. So I can understand why he said that. Had he known about the Mrs. Lyons incident, I think he would have been a little bit more careful about saying across the board that all the leaks in Athens were serious. I don't want to make a speech very long, but there are a number of my customers here that came here tonight to publicly thank me for what I've done over the past 3 years. I didn't think we'd even come to this evening, and I certainly appreciate that Columbia Gas is finally recognizing that something needed to be done here, or you wouldn't be coughing up $1.2 million to replace 17,000 feet of line. The question I have is, as a letter carrier, I'm not allowed to tell my parking points. It's a security issue with the Postal Service. But I know you're going to be working in a lot of the neighborhoods where I have smelled and detected leaks and warned people. So I would like to know about if it's going to make my parking points different than what they are now. And if there's any way that you can work with my supervisory personnel at the post office to let me know about this, I'd appreciate it.
Parking wise, there shouldn't be any significant changes. There might be a subtle change of maybe 20 or 30 feet. But I would not expect to have to block off large sections in which we're going to be working. There's not going to be a lot of equipment. There'll be a few trucks on a block at a time. And there will be people on site at all times. If there happens to be someone in front of your driveway, we'll make sure you can get in and out. But the goal is not to disrupt any traffic in and out of the driveway. So if there is any problems with parking or with the city, with the streets and coming in and out, we've had projects around hospitals, and we've worked with the fire department, the ambulance services, to let them know when and where we're going to be at certain places. Also with schools, certain times of the day when the parents are coming to pick up their children. So we do work with the city and emergency response people to let them know when we're going to be places and get their advice as to how we should address them.
Do you have a rough schedule of where you're starting and where you're going to be at certain points?
I can answer that. What we'll do is we'll get with Andy Stone's office, and we'll see what their paving schedule is like, and we'll try to coordinate with that in order to stay ahead of them and not interfere with them. And definitely, we don't want to have any, we don't want to tear up the street that they want to pave, so we want to try to do that.
So we don't know yet.
That was what I.
That's your question.
Is if they're not paving anything in the clear east side, where would we start?
At the place where we cross recent streets.
Which is.
I don't know yet. That's why I have to say.
So we don't know yet.
Okay.
So when we get closer and meet with the contractor, and we work with the contractors, and we are there to make sure that the work is done and safely, compliantly, but the contractor has some input as to where they would like to start. And when we get closer to the construction date, then we'll know where we're going to be.
And a small suggestion, you might put a little notice in the paper each week to sort of give us an idea, we're going to work on May Street, May Avenue this next week or so. So as people have vacations, they can sort of arrange what's needed.
Well, I really don't want you changing any vacation for me. You know, if you want to go somewhere, you go, because I will be in this area for 3 or 4 months. And if we miss you, that's fine. So if you want to go somewhere, go. Yes, ma'am.
I have 2 questions that are specific to my property, so maybe they can't be answered in general. One of them is that in what I think is the tab with the city right away alongside the street, where I imagine the building main line, there's a concrete box that belongs to the Athens home telephone company, wherever that needs to be.
Sure.
As far as we know, it's not connected to anything. I presume they'll have to come out. It's pretty deep box.
Can you point to where you are?
Shannon, we're number 1.
Yeah, we can make subtle accommodations to where we lay the name. We have some on. You want it out?
It's not really good specific.
Let's take red out.
I don't know, but I don't know if it's from Florida, like, French, whatever, I don't know, I have no idea. It was a utility and that was the name of it. The second question I have is, all our utilities are laid in one trench alongside the house. In 2004, we had to replace the water line, so we replaced everything that we could think of. I've received a plumber, but I don't have anything indicating about the gas. I took pictures, but can you tell by looking before you dig whether there's a plastic line in there instead of a metal line? If the metal line was replaced?
So you're concerned, we have records that show what type of service line you have. So when we go and we reconnect somebody after a leak, we would code your account that shows the size of the plastic or if it's plastic. So we would know that already.
And you'll look all that up before you come to my door.
Well, no, we'll double check when we get there to make sure that we know what we're dealing with, but we can determine before we start to tear things up what type of thing.
Okay, well, I figured you'd do that research before you got there, but I was just
Well, you're hoping you already have a plastic
I'm
service
hoping
line.
that from 2004 is still in good shape for you.
Well, if someone has an existing plastic line, one of the things we look at is the date when it was manufactured and whether it's still in our approved material listing. We'll test it 90 pounds if it is, and sometimes we use the existing service lines. If there's any doubt at all as to its condition, we will install a new one. Yes, sir.
According to your literature, this new plastic lasts much longer. I think that's the word used. Any idea how long you've been using it and how long they predict? Has it been tested for 20 years?
The earliest plastic is in the some plastic that was installed in the 70s. It's really hard to really say it's useful compared to this because the technology has improved so much. Given that the only enemy of, there's two enemies to plastic, and that is UV rays, and the other one is outside damage. So in theory, this could last, 100 years or more, as long as it's not in direct sunlight or someone digs a backhoe through it. So it's really thick and durable. It's hard to damage. So it's going to be there a lot longer than I'm going to be around. Well, not good, but good. The lines we're not replacing. Yeah, some of them are treated, and there's also some plastic. We've had some really good luck with the treated steel. I don't know how long they're going to last, but we monitor them. We keep track of leak incident rates on sections of pipe. And if we get to a point where we feel that there's active corrosion on that, then we would address it. But we have good technology, and we have anodes installed, it's coated, and it's expected to last a long time. All right, and one last thing, you're welcome to come up here if you have any questions about your own, like your house, your account, anything that you really don't want to bring out to the whole group. Come up after the meeting. I have all the materials up here that we're going to be using. You're more than welcome to come up and look at it or ask any questions you may have. I'm sorry, do you have a question?
No question. I just want to tell you that I appreciate that this is happening. As Charlie said, Jay Lyons at my house that came home from work one day. I saw them on the door. I think there's no gas in your house. You should call the gas company. I think, oh yeah. We had an old dog. We thought the old dog was peeing on the carpet. We cleaned the carpet over and over. Didn't know what it was. Opened the doors, opened the windows, figured it out. It didn't smell like gas. I can remember as a child. And the gas man came. They got called. They said, evacuate the house. I said, yeah, okay. So I went outside the backyard. He came. The whole one wall was full of gas. He was there for over an hour waiting for it to get down to a level where he felt it was even safe. So Charlie's got a good nose. And he did, I think, save our lives and the neighbors' lives because we were taking off off. So I do appreciate that this is happening. And I'm glad you're going to put that thing on the outside and put it in the right.
Good.
Will the structure for the outside windows be done earlier, later, or you know everything?
The structure meaning this
Right.
windows. It's kind of like two phases. Right. This is first,
Yeah.
and then after this gets tested and everything done, then we'll attach the service line that will run up to this. Would it be fair to say that when we convert them over to the new system, that this new meter setting is the day before or the day of conversion? The day of conversion. So if I can tell you next Wednesday, then this will be done on the same day.
Then we have to be there with our meters inside
Right.
by a window. So we have to be there.
Either be there or have arrangements for us to do the conversion. A lot depends on your comfort level with regard to the people being in your house without you being there.
Ron Lucas, Assistant Service Safety Director for the City of Athens. I have a construction schedules question, not literally on the dates, but what about the timing of the day? What's your typical operating day?
That's 7:30 to 5:30. And there can be exceptions if there's a reason we need to be there later to do a conversion. But typically 7:30 to 5:30.
Monday to Friday.
Yeah, that could change.
Okay.
We want to work Monday through Friday. If we're going to be working anything on Saturday, we will talk to you ahead of time.
And do you have your subs identified?
Yes.
Your subcontractors identified?
Yeah.
R&R?
R&R. So they'll have name tags with their picture on it, and at all times we'll have a Columbia person on site.
FYI to the folks in this room, R&R and the city have a great relationship, so if there's any concerns regarding street maintenance or anything like that, please call the mayor's office and we can work that out.
Again, what would be approximately the lead time between the tag on the door, and the order coming, and the time you actually come?
Right, that's a good question, and that varies from project to project, so I'll let Joe.
We'll definitely be there, you'll know that we're there first, because we'll be doing the main line first. If you have any questions, then don't hesitate to stop and ask someone. But then once we leave the tag on, we'll want to get it taken care of as quickly as possible, but we'll work with you because we'll have the whole street doing that time.
And you're more than welcome to come out and watch. From a safe distance. If we hand you a hard hat, you've been there too long. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to know if you are going to be able to have somebody come and look at your property in advance, instead of like the day before this work, and do it, suddenly I have to make a decision.
Yeah, and Joe knows where you live, and it's not uncommon. I was in Columbus 2 weeks ago, and there were 2 people, and they were explaining it to me, and it sounded really complicated. So we had someone come out and look at it. Most of the conversions are really easy. There's times where if they're on a slab and there's times where it's complicated. Yes, we'll come out there ahead of time and talk to you about it, and we'll have to